The hypotheses I put forward in the book, which I don't think should be too controversial, is that people are a sort of animal, and not the only one, that can switch between individual and pack behavior patterns. So we evolved at a time when sometimes we were on our own, scavenging around in the African plains, and sometimes we formed packs. There's a little switch inside each person, right back there. We're kind of in the middle there, actually. And somewhere on the amygdala probably, and if you switch it to the pack setting, everything changes. And what I realize is that in myself, when the switch is turned, it's irresistible. And an example of when it's turned for me is when I'm in some online setting and I get into some horrible exchange with somebody over something innocuous, like brands of pianos or something. And I can't even understand, how did this happen? And my heart's racing, and I'm like, how dare you say that? And then I'm going to get him, I'm going to hit him with a zinger. And then somebody else piles on and says, yeah, you go. And it's like this whole, and I'm like, what is this thing? And I see it in myself, and it's once it starts in you, it's almost impossible to pull out of it. And what I realize is that looking online, some designs bring out this thing more than others, but a whole lot of designs turn the switch. Some of the examples are anonymous comments after blogs or videos. There are all kinds of other examples. And when it happens, and by the way, Google Wave does it like crazy. And then when it happens, it doesn't matter what the topic is. You see this sequence, a characteristic sequence of events unfold, where first people form the pack, and a pack, you know a pack exists when there are two kinds of enemies. There's the inner enemy, which is the low totem pole position within the pack, the person who's dumped upon, and then there's the external enemy. So for instance, in the tea parties, it's the people who aren't radical enough are the internal one, and we're the external one, right? And that's a universal sign, and you can see it whether people are talking about jihad or poodles or Linux. It just doesn't matter. It's the same pattern again and again and again, and that's the switch being turned. How do you avoid that? The switch is our enemy. The switch inside each one of us is the thing that kills more of us than anything else. If you look at history, all the atrocities of history are one episode after another of that switch being turned. And the way you avoid turning the switch is through confusing it. What you do is you create a society with enough overlaid forms of status that you're not a member of a single pecking order. So maybe you're not as rich as Sergey Brin, but you're a respected poet. Maybe you're a respected professor, even though you live in a crappy apartment. Blah 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 blah. By adding a lot of layers of ways to have status, you confuse the status monster, and that's the only path to civility.